Excuse me, I'm next in line. Move. Excuse me, I'm next in line. Watch out. Excuse me, I'm next in line. I said move. Excuse me, I'm next in line.
Let's start with a little bit of because there's a lot actually happening in the world of sports today. I'm quite surprised, honestly, because you would think that just because the weather just got nice, we still have a little delay. But no, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, the NBA has a lot going on, considering that now that LeBron hurt for a while and Anthony Davis, who really was the one helping that team win like that, is injured, and they're worried about him constantly being injured since he's often injured. A lot happening with the LA, like getting a repeat. A lot of people aren't talking about it. A lot of people nervous about it. The team seems fine. They picked up some additions, but when you lose your two top dogs, everybody's scared and everybody thinks they have a chance at the title. So some stuff happening there. But as far as we're concerned, the Knicks and the Nets here in the East Coast are seventh place and second place respectively. So we still got both New York teams in the East, which means yay New York. Going on right now in hockey, the Islanders are still second in the division, and the Rangers and the Devils just aren't last. Small wins. And in baseball, it actually started. We honestly, I remember, thinking, oh, they're gonna be coming back this year. Then I completely forgot about it, and all of a sudden the other day is happy opening day. I get at work and I'm just like, oh crap, it's today. So yeah, unfortunately, this new why is there a runner on second base in extra innings? I mean, isn't the point of baseball to hit the ball to get on base? And because of this second base rule, the Yankees lost the first game. But in true Yankee fashion, you take a L, you get a W. So the Yankees are 1-1. They're in third in their division. But I mean, literally, this is 2 out of Lord knows how many games. This is baseball we're talking about. So we will see how things turn out. And the Mets couldn't even get a start this weekend. In true Mets fashion, the Lord has said no. Just COVID-related situations slowed up their weekend, and Mets fans are still waiting for their return over to the stadium for some fun, for some games. Probably not some wins because it's the Mets, but you love baseball. You love baseball. And then for our wrestling fans, right? You gotta get Peacock now. If you are a WWE fan, cost you less, but watch Peacock. This isn't even a Peacock is great and you should subscribe. No, I really don't care. It's NBC stuff related things. Meh. Old shows I've already watched. A couple new shows I was like, maybe I'd give it a shot. But WWE is pretty much telling you like anything good, everything special is on Peacock. So all my wrestling friends, it's just the move. I know we've been trying to delay it, but they're putting WrestleMania on it. How we're gonna miss WrestleMania? All right, so that's the move for you. But baseball also had a little bit of other news this week besides just New York kind of having a weird weekend. Georgia changed some voter rights and laws and such that are pretty typical for what we think Southerners would do to people. That's all I'm going to say about it. We're not going to get that deep into that one because I don't feel like cursing on air today. But because of their new restrictions, and to honor Hank Aaron, who obviously was somebody who had to fight adversity in his time to try to make and show his greatness, the MLB has officially stated that they are moving this year's All-Star game out of Georgia. A very respectable move, especially in a league that features so many people from so many places, and is representing a sport that's gone major internationally, especially in Asia. So where the game is going next, that's still to be determined. You know how scheduling works, and they had other events a part of All-Star Weekend, even with COVID. So give them a week, maybe 2. I mean, the season just started. We can give them a whole month and not be a rush. But good look, MLB. You did a good one. On that note, we're going to go to our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some things happening in news and media. So, Charles, if you could. Hey everybody, I'm Lil D.
I am Javier Luis.
I'm Alex Polanco.
I'm Apollonia Cruz.
And I'm Kelly Kaboo.
I am Shirley Phillips.
I am Emmanuel Anzule. Do you know 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence
During their lifetime.
And domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone,
regardless of gender, race, or other factors?
2 out of 3 homicide cases are
Females who were killed by a family member or intimate partner.
As domestic violence victims, they face high rates of depression,
Sleep disturbances,
anxiety,
flashbacks, and other emotional distresses.
And without help, witnesses of domestic violence are more vulnerable to become abusers themselves.
Thus continuing the cycle of violence in the next generation.
Hello, I'm Charles Aloma. Join the LDM network and Safe Horizon and take a step into changing these facts. So if you are or know someone that is being abused, please call the City Domestic Hotline at 1-800-621-4673. So that is 1-800-621-HOPE.
speak up,
Speak out.
And make a difference.
And just know that you don't have to deal with this alone. There is help.
As mighty armies clash in a struggle for total domination, the scales can be tipped by one man who has the courage to confront his fate and make a choice that will decide the fate of the world.
Guys put a lot of smoke in today. Wow. But anyway, we expecting a real superhero? I don't think so. The real life superheroes are the ones that are helping out in their community today. And the LDM show will be there to bring you the events and stories to life. Do you know a real superhero? Let us know. But for now, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and like us on Facebook. Also visit our websites for photos, videos, and updates. But until the meantime, hey, I gotta be out of here.
Oops, we're back. So, a couple things to talk about. First off, let me start with this little Nas X nonsense that's been going around the last week or so, which originally I wasn't going to talk about, but then it just hit me. Like, I feel like perhaps I should say something. So, Nas X makes this video with a somewhat catchy song where he's doing things with both, heaven and hell. This is my best PC descriptor. In it, because of some things, particularly with the hell portion, and the distribution of shoes that have relations and ties with Satan, supposedly. I mean, they're freaking shoes, and they're red. That's about it. He kind of caught a cease and desist order from Nike, and a whole bunch of angry Christians. Now, a lot of people are mad at Nike for speaking out against this. Feeling that perhaps they don't support the LGBTQT community, which I don't, I'm not even, why? But at the same time, their argument is that they're doing it because he represents or he's a member of that community. They're doing it in spite of that, because earlier there was something in relation to heaven that they did not put a cease and desist order on. So this is why I want to speak on it. Any brand out there, right? Usually will take the side of a major offended organization. And what I mean by that is, there are times when you have to be liberal, right? When Christians are going ham against homosexuals, that very much like, yeah, we don't want to hear it, we don't want to whatever. Like, Jesus himself would not be coming ham at me right now, and you ain't even him. I feel you on that, right? Understand completely. This has nothing to do with the fact that Lil Nas X is of that community. It doesn't. It just simply doesn't. What he did was associate their brand with something that's not considered good. There's no way, shape, or form in most public circuits, in most religions, that any concept of the underworld is a positive, right? And then to now say that their product is in promotion of these dark things, these possibly satanic things, these possibly evil things, that's what it was about. Is business. Well, they said okay to angel stuff. Well, no matter what religion you're looking at, flying creatures from the heavens are normally either gloriously good or at least heavenly beings to be worshipped, right? Not necessarily good. Some religions definitely have some evil flying gods, but they're still gods that they worship, right? So no matter what perspective you're coming from, being associated with the sky, great. Being associated with some sort of realm in the underworld, no. Bad, no. So that's all they're doing. They want to be part of something that's not going to make them look bad to the general public on a global scale. Not to mention that their headquarters is in a smaller U.S. state, and not necessarily in size, but definitely in population and definitely culturally exposed, right? I'm sorry, Oregon is just a fact. These guys have to deal with the community that's around their major headquarters, their central headquarters, where they came up from. And we're talking about a place that's definitely of Christian values. You gotta lay off the business model. Whatever's trending, whatever's popular, whether we're talking Christianity, Islam, hell, even Buddhism. The concept of hell in the underworld is not a good thing, right? The Taoist gods, the Buddhist god. There's a whole thing about it even in Asia with something that's not related to Christians or Muslims, anything monotheistic, any other. It's never a good thing. So they need to take their name off of that, so that way, on a global scale where people aren't necessarily as liberal as Americans, they still want to do business with them. It's that simple, folks. I mean, even if you listen to the radio, some guy decided to sell Nike shoes, and his flyer had their shoes on top of stripper butts, and he was like, we can get you these shoes for cheap. When Nike found out about it, they definitely sent nah, we ain't about that. You didn't clear this with us. Because it's too provocative, not just in the area that he was selling in, but on a national and global market, right? Now, they're not saying there's anything wrong with strippers. That's not what it is. They're saying they don't want their brand associated with something controversial. And that's the big thing. Nobody was making Heavenly Angels controversial, but Lil Nas X, doing what he did with the devil, then promoting a shoe in relation to the devil, it became controversial. Nike just doesn't want no controversy, and them not wanting controversy is creating controversy, and that's nonsensical. Generation C, stupid millennials, please stop. I gotta specify the stupid ones, because a lot of 80 babies ain't on this stuff. Right. But the stupid ones, mostly the ones in their late 20s, like myself. Yeah, stop. Just stop. You know damn well when the next Jordan's release, y'all gonna shut up about this nonsense and go buy the damn shoes. That's what this is about. Branding. The same branding that makes you pay for shoes instead of your electric bill. Branding. Nike's trying to ensure that when they release something, you're still spending $400 on something that only took $10 to make. That's it. So leave them be. Let them do what every other big business does and try and keep their name clean, good or bad, from the bull. You feel me? Now, moving on to some other stuff that's more locally related because, well, we're New York. We are the center of the world. I don't care what nobody says. First and foremost, they're saying that 70% of cases involving COVID now here in the city are of variant strains. Now, what this literally tells me is one of two things. Either y'all mofos don't know how to stay from traveling when the whole world is shut down, or they finally noticed that most of the people traveling into New York, like the city, during the pandemic, weren't from the city because city folk were staying in their boroughs, going nowhere. So people traveling where other states had more liberal rules before the city got it, hell, even upstate had more liberal rules before the city got it, kept coming here and exposed us to a whole bunch of other nonsense, and now we have everybody else's problem. That theory makes a lot more sense to me, because even where I work, most of them aren't native to this city, and the ones who are have now moved to Connecticut, Long Island, Westchester, or Jersey, and it's annoying. They were going to shut down New York where we couldn't go to movie theaters. They should have shut down New York so none of these other people can come into our city. That's how I feel, and these numbers prove my case. Thank you very much, guys. At the same time, the U.S. in general has been doing pretty well with releasing vaccinations, where they're going to have current companies who are releasing their stuff to the states increase production for summertime, so in the next 2 months or so. That even Dr. Fauci, you know, the guy who everybody's like, I turn to him because he knows all things, except not really, is saying that the United States won't need the new AstraZeneca version of the vaccine because, well, the companies we have are going to be producing enough, and with the rate of people who want to take the vaccine right now, it's efficient. Look, way I see it, if it gets approved for emergency use, just add to the list. It doesn't hurt. And what I mean by that is everybody else is getting sick already taking this vaccine. We just got to figure out how long this one's going to hurt you, right? There's one that gets you sick for a couple hours, one that gets you sick for a couple days, one that gets you sick for a day. Let's add a third one in the mix, right? And fourth one in the mix, and then be like, hey, this one's going to take you out for a week, but you get shot once and you never need to get shot again. That's all we're worrying about right now, because as long as we can get people the medicine that they desire, why not have everything, right? We got Tylenol, Bayer, Midol, all these other things for pain, right? All do the same crap. It's an oversaturated market in medicine, right? Not to talk about what prescriptions there are. Claritin, Allegra, heck, even and Claritin even has a D, not just a Claritin, but a Claritin D. Like, what you need the D for? Like, anywho, that's all I'm saying. Like, just oversaturate this market too. It's better to have more than less, right? Especially when we still don't know if we're gonna need this every 6 months, every year, maybe every 5 years. I mean, we figured out how to stop birth faster than we've figured out how to solve this. And to the point where, like, yeah, we can pretty much stop that if we want. We can stop life if we want. We don't really know how to stop something else that stops life, though. I don't know. I'd be more concerned with that. And that thing will last, like, I think the IUD can last anywhere from a year to, like, 5 years. Or I think somebody said there's a 10-year one. So maybe we can figure out a shot that does the same thing for at least 3. Maybe. I don't know. Possibility. But, I don't know. I think that distribution of all possible vaccines should be put out there. And in all honesty, it just makes more sense. We got so much to learn about how to cure this thing and fight this thing. I did see something recently that was a news report. I think this was Fox 5. Don't quote me on it. They were talking about a lady who was saying that she is promoting taking the vaccine in the African American community and wants to be a model for it because the reason a lot of black people aren't taking the drugs is that there weren't a lot of black test subjects originally, so they don't trust it. Understand that the reason why a lot of black people are not taking this, a lot of minorities in general, are not taking this, but specifically black people, is because back in the day, we were the test subjects. So we don't trust it. We don't trust their stuff. A lot of the time when it comes to cure-alls, what they say needs to be done and what grandmama said needs to be done does not match. And one of them works. Guess which one? So the doubt isn't created because, oh, they didn't test on enough black people at the start. I'm sorry, G-Ma, but that's not how this one works. It's happening because there's no trust in white medicine for black people. Ironically, I hear the same black people complain that white people don't want to give them their medicine when it comes to regular stuff, right? You go to the hospital, oh, they think we can take it, but this, that, and that. So you want their medicine, but then you mad when they're trying to give it to you. This is what I don't understand about this country. Either be mad or be glad, but you can't have it both ways, right? We're not trying to have our cake and eat it too. Honestly, a lot of black folk are waiting to see what this does to white people first. That's what this is. We're like, are they gonna turn into The Walking Dead? Are they gonna turn into something from the Thriller video? Are they gonna be like, just dropping like flies and then we finally have this country? That's what black people are waiting for right now. And a lot of black people who believe in holistic medicine have found ways to cure this, or maybe not cure, but deal with this without, dying. So a lot of people are still trying to find an all-natural method, right? For everything that there's a drug for, a pill popping thing that might erode your stomach or organs, there's, a way more complicated herbal remedy for it that, just causes a lot of time work and repetition, right? There's a reason why we do something very simply in Western medicine, but sometimes there's a reason to do Eastern treatment. You get what I'm saying? So that's the real reason for that. And I'm hoping that perhaps they find something a more reasonable. For those of you who don't know, they say acids work. So, your citric acids and your fruits and such, alcohol works. So either drink it, rub it on the skin to cleanse yourself all the time, and heat, keep your body temperature up. Coffees, teas, warm liquids before bed, after bed. Very simple, basic things to do that they've already explained to you from the start of this. A lot of people kill it while it's congesting in your upper body during that time. So you get it, you kill it, and you get the antibodies. The thing about it is that the antibodies don't always stay there, so you have to consistently keep up this treatment during the pandemic and probably through. It sounds like a lot of work, but there are people willing to do it. So, if you don't want to take the shot, there's your alternative method right there. Now, here in the Bronx, we got a couple different things going on that I wanted to talk about. So, first and foremost, I recently discovered that they have done a groundbreaking in the last week, or a week and a half, for a new, more natural, farm-based area in Hunts Point, right, around the Hunts Point area. Essentially, what I found out that really disturbed me is that Hunts Point is also one of, if not the largest, food distribution areas in the world, right? All the companies there that do what they do, it puts them in the top 10 on a global scale. So how is it you're going to tell me that not only are you increasing productivity and business in this area for this industry, but you're doing it when around the same area is one of the poorest districts where people can't even buy their own food? You're telling me you're shipping food away from people who can't get food. Where does that make sense? National low, global high? Where does that make any sense? I mean, don't get me wrong. The project itself is a great thing, right? Because it's less of a lot of processed stuff and more about natural grown food. More, healthier food, straight off the farm kind of stuff. Less processed, less additive, less nonsense that could be long-term sickening, right? The stuff that preserves the food also makes it a little harder for the body to fully break down, digest, and fight off, So this is a great idea. It's a great product. But can we connect some dots first? I wish that was a part of this project, and it doesn't seem to be, where now some of these products can be distributed to the local community before we start sending it all over the freaking goddamn world, right? Have the people of the South Bronx and of the Hunts Point area, and, be able to reap the rewards of this. I just thought that was just I never even knew that about the Hunts Point area. And you see a lot of businesses, a lot of factories, even a couple of like areas of farm. And you're like, oh wow, who would have thought that the South Bronx even has this? But it looks very industrial. It explains the asthmatic rates that are higher in the Bronx compared to other parts of the city. But now you want to tell them, like, I found out that they be giving food to everybody else but us? Nah, that don't make no sense. So somebody needs to fix that, all right? Just putting that out there. Positive thing happening in the Bronx, though. We got two ladies, Zoe Johnson, and no, not the one from Blackish. I know there's going to be somebody trying to crack that joke somewhere. And an Anna Lusberg are bringing in something called Studio 3 to the Morris Park area, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Oh, so essentially what they want to do is start to create kind of like an artist sanctuary, right? Where they're going to hold events, allow people to utilize the space to create. Of course, the general idea of what you think of an art gallery, but with a lot more activity than just gala night, And they want to produce that, so this way now people will start coming to the Bronx and not just thinking, oh, I need to go to the Lower East Side, I need to go to Brooklyn. For those who create them, and we know, many who've been a part with LDM since our inception have met with various people here, especially like Rose Angelica, very big, hippie soul, a lot of talent there. And we deal with a lot of artists, and so this borough is full of a lot of people who love to create, be it music or visual arts or anything like that. That a place that could be a home for any and all of them is a beautiful thing to add to the borough. So shout out to those two women who are doing something very industrious, but also very needed in the Bronx. I hear way too many of my people having to travel 2 hours just to find some place to, do what they do. And last but not least, I feel like this is important. It's not Bronx only, but we here at LDM do a lot of work with these guys. So the National Puerto Rican Day Parade is starting this year's acceptance of applicants for their college tuition grants. So check out nprdpinc.org, right? Type in Google National Puerto Rican Day Parade. It's their website. And all the rules and regulations are there. I think this is very important to throw out there because this is a national scholarship, not just local, which is, but we work with these folks. We do the parade every year. This also reaches out to our 51st state, Puerto Rico. And usually they say about 40% of the people who are awarded this come off the island, especially after all the damage from previous natural events. So for anyone of Puerto Rican descent, and I know our borough is full of it here in the Bronx, check out the website. There's for people who are juniors in high school up to sophomores in college. And they say, if you've heard about this and you've tried it before, it's going to be a lot harder this year. They try to give preference to first-time entrants. So just a heads up there. So if some of you feel like not wasting your time, I already warned you. But it's an opportunity for people to get the money necessary to go to college. So I feel like it's definitely something to speak upon and throw out there. Spread that information. I think it's a great thing. I just stumbled upon that fact, so I'm glad I can share that with you today. Now, for the rest of us New Yorkers, right, I'm hearing that Cuomo is now allowing 33% capacity at performing art spaces, which is awesome right before the summer because that's when a lot of the indie artists out here in the city are looking to get to venues and concerts and things like that I'm hoping that starts back up again. The city night scene is something that I want to enjoy before my hiatus due to military leave. Andrew Yang got kidney stones, so, the Yang gang got to slow down while he's taking care of that issue. And right when, you get into the heart of the mayoral race, like people now in the mayoral race are taking shots at each other, and it's a beautiful thing because it makes for entertaining TV, articles, and things to talk about for folks who actually care about New York City politics. Everybody's throwing shots. I love when people are throwing shots at one another. Mudslinging is the best part of politics. It just simply is. Not to say any of it helps everyone, but we are the voters, so why not entertain us, right? Do like the Romans. You please the plebes with a couple battles of blood, and then they let you rule the rest of the country. That's essentially what we're asking for because we're letting you rule the rest of the country. We also have a couple of new facilities underway in the city. There's going to be a major construction project being pushed by Cuomo right now in Midtown Manhattan. I'm a little surprised by this, but a lot of people are saying that it speaks to his power as governor, right? This man is currently fighting a bunch of allegations, not so much charges, but allegations, under investigation and scrutiny, and he seems to be trying to just push and pass whatever he wants along, like just showing off his might. I gotta admit, I'm not impressed, but that's because I know who Cuomo is. You ever watch this man on TV, and he's very much like, look, I'm about my business, so either we about it or I'm leaving. And that kind of attitude is necessary when running a state as complex as New York. One of the few states where your blues are really blue, and yet somehow in Congress in this state, they end up being some shade of purple and mostly voting red. So a guy like that who represents the real blues of New York City, and yes, I'm saying New York City because our population size is kind of what puts people over in this state, when a lot of the state doesn't have the same ideology as us. You really got to be strong. A lot of the accusations say, oh, he was a bully, he was scary, yada yada. Well, sounds like he's just a man who gets stuff done and he don't take your BS. And what he's doing right now is evident of that. So whether you like him, whether you hate him, the man, he holds his seat with a lot of power and pride. Gotta respect it. This Midtown deal, though, I don't know how much I feel it. You don't live in the city anymore, right? And you're not here often, so you're not thinking about the inconvenience. You're thinking about, despite the investment we're putting in, right? We're talking about like a, $13 billion deal. They're thinking about the revenue that can be created from it. Understood. Like I said, business is business. But along the way in construction of this project, right, we're talking about the Penn Station area, 34th Street, Times Square. Buildings that are going to be put up in this area, not renovated, but literally put up, right? The amount of traffic that's going to happen, and we still just finished the last train project with the 7 train, and extending from Times Square down to Penn Station. So we're talking about this Penn Station project, more work being done, the new companies that just moved in there, all the other buildings that are coming about. We got a lot of work coming, and a major inconvenience as far as travel, right? Right now, the city should be focusing on getting back to normal. I don't know if he thinks this project can be done during the COVID scare. If this project can be done in the next 4 months to a year, right? We're not hoping this COVID nonsense lasts another 2, 3, 4 is an internal project. No, we don't need that. We don't need, 90 bajillion hopping on a plane and all this other bull crap. We got to be thinking that ideally in the next year, we can be done with COVID. That's how we need to think. That's what we want to think. That's what we want to project. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. I'm not even saying it's reality, but this is how we need to be focusing. How do we rebuild tourism in New York, but take away a lot of the flexibility, movability of the area that tourists normally go to? It just doesn't make sense. When we get back on a wave this time of the third, if you were able to start the project last year, at the ending of last year, that sort of a thing, talking about starting this just when traveling is probably going to start opening up, right? We got doctors saying if you get the vaccine, you should be good for travel within, let's say the first couple months, right? For sure, you should be good. People are looking to make moves. Being told you can't, or even the people who now. So it's not the time to start a major construction in Manhattan. It's just not. And to try and fight for something that's so costly, that's inconvenience, I don't think it's the move to make. But the fact that a lot of people right now are saying, well, we could probably get this done, just like I said, it's a man in office, whether you like him or not, it just is. Fighting buddy did something positive. That forces NYPD to hire more minority officers. Now, as a black person, there's a lot of confliction with the idea of us being cops, right? You got the one side that says in order to, create the change, you got to be the change, right? Like you got to influence was going on. Completely understood. You got other people on a similar note. Understood. In fact, that I reason with a heck of a lot more, right? But at the same time, knowing what they do, what they've done, and seeing how some can get corrupted, it's a very right. That's where a lot of our heads are at. But I'm gonna speak about this on an impartial note, right? That's kind of what I'm supposed to do. This move is a great move politically for De Blasio, right? He's definitely been big on having a son with an afro for the entire time he's been running and holding office. If we look at how New York City runs, right, and let's just take major places. So by Marcy Projects, the Hasidic Jews have their own specific Jewish police force, right, who can speak their language and understand the culture and the rules and, represent a form of protection for them, right? You go down to Chinatown and you have Chinese officers who can speak the language down there. You go to different precincts all around, and of course it's easier and a better requirement to have people of the area of the community be able to talk to the people of that area and community. I understand why NYPD does what they do, right? If you're in the Heights, isn't it a lot better to have a Spanish cop there? Whether or not you as a civilian speak Spanish, it's great to know that if you need help, that person can tell the person trying to hurt you, stop, right? I get it. It makes sense. But when we talk about this, right, now it comes down to my community. A lot of us don't have another language. I've never seen an African police force in Harlem or something like that, right? But a lot of us regular African Americans, not American Africans, see what I'm doing there? We don't have a different tongue. Even us Caribbean folk. Yes, my mother is Caribbean. Whether or not you speak patois, everybody speaks an understandable amount in English, right? And I say that because everybody knows a short form of a short form can be way too confusing for a lot of the people. Like when a Spaniard talks to a Dominican, there's always a little bit of miscommunication, right? So for some Americans talking to a Jamaican, they're going to be lost, and vice versa sometimes. Understood. But for the most part, we can communicate. So they feel that in our communities, we only need whoever can come, because most officers should be able to speak English. I think that's actually a requirement to join the force, but with times changing, I don't want to assume anything. That's not exactly how this works. Oh, well, we have courses to teach our officers how to speak Ebonics. That, too, is not how that works. There are certain things that cannot and can be said to people of a community by others not from the community. So to have someone who can truly speak the language, they have to be of the people, right? Especially when we're talking a language that's, universally a sign of status other places. So a lot of the intellectuals will just speak that language. So speaking their language is just a sign of community, as opposed to like, oh, you're an elitist a-hole. When everybody here speaks English, you got to be able to speak to the people how the people speak and want to be spoken to, not just being able to understand the words. And those subtleties are the reasons why certain situations go left. So if we're hiring more minority officers, would this mean that we could start putting more black officers in black areas? Now, I'm not talking about some sort of segregation, but the city itself, as diverse as it is, kind of self-segregates, right? People move in with the people of the same cultural background or the same economic level as they do. It's just how, rezoning this or whatever, all the political nonsense that goes along with it, but all the self stuff that we do, right? We feel comfortable with people who understand us. I think that if other communities, like the Asian community, like the Jewish community, like the Russian community, if they can get stuff for, they need people who can talk to them properly, essentially, is your argument, I would say we do too, because I wasn't doing anything results in bullets. I thought that was English. Guess it wasn't. Black, be Spanish, be of. If you can tell me that Irish and Italian cops can service the black community fairly, well, then that means the Irish and Italian tops have to start dealing with the Chinese community, have to start with the Jewish community, have to whatever, and that would be fair. But as long as there are other groups getting specified forces, the black community should have some accommodation for our culture, our forced culture, by the way, because we kind of lost our old culture in a lot of cases. Well, I recommend some sort of African police force in Harlem. I'm putting that out there. If you can't give me stuff for the black people, can my African brothers get people who can speak their various languages? Just a whole unit of like, how many different African languages do you speak? That'd be dope. I think that'd be really dope. And their cars would have different writing on it. See, I'm already picturing it. It'd be and, so that was my last little run on for right now. On that note, we're gonna go to a commercial break. When we come back, the movies that you should and shouldn't be watching, and our fans of the week. So, Charles, if you could, to the next break.
She's so fake.
She's such a slut. You can see the layers on her face.
Look at her chicken legs.
Oh my god. How short is that skirt?
I can't believe she'd even put that on.
Is that her dress? It's not even on her hardly.
It's not even covering her up.
It's actually disgusting. Oh my god. How can she do her hair like that?
I don't even know how this girl has friends.
I saw her talking to Holden the other day. Who does she think she is?
I bet she slept with the whole football team. She's not even pretty. She's gained so much weight. She looks like a cow.
Such a good idea. Watch this.
You're good. Oh my god, that's so funny. You gotta post that. I got an idea. Pass this.
I want to start off with a movie that, although I loved it, should definitely be skipped because, garbage is garbage, right? So, first is a movie called Alita: Vampire Mistress, and I saw the cover of it after watching something else. This is on Amazon, and normally I don't talk about a movie that's worth skipping, but I feel like, despite me acknowledging the fact that it needs to be skipped, I enjoyed every minute of it, even though it was terribly, terribly bad. So, first, it's the story of the first real vampire and how she came into her power, and why the U.S. government is trying now to work with her to figure out how to militarize her power. Now, premise alone, I thought it would be interesting. This movie is definitely some D-grade, low-budget, nonsense thing. She goes back and forth with Helsing at some point. There are a bunch of naked women around this movie. Really poor acting. A really bad, corrupt U.S. ambassador. All this other nonsense. And it was, honestly, me and my friends could have probably made the same movie for $100. But I think that's what the fun part was, is that it was so bad. You just kind of well, at least they're naked people, and I expect nothing further than this. So skip it. It's garbage. But if you so happen to have nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing to watch, or you just want to see how bad it is, or just want to see naked women, yeah, I guess. Really don't waste your time, but it was definitely an interesting watch for something that wasn't all that interesting in retrospect. Then the movies that you should consider watching. I don't think they're for everyone, but they definitely have their niche market. So the first one is Yin Yang Master. There's several of them that you can watch, but this is for the Kung Fu fan, someone who likes the old school Chinese Kung Fu martial arts film, but with a little bit more modernized visuals. And the back and forth in this is really cool. A lot of the fighting is awesome, but even the digital stuff comes out a lot better than you would expect. It looks like, if you and your friends were to make a CGI movie. And I mean that not in the worst way, but like those dope Instagram or YouTube videos where you're like, dang, these guys really put in work. Exactly. That's this whole Chinese studio right here. Like, that's just what they do. It's really awesome. It's really fun. The stories, I warn you, like I said, this is like an old Chinese kung fu movie. It can be a little drawn out. Like, I feel like some of these movies are like 2.5 hours and could definitely be done in 90 minutes instead. But they try really hard to develop a storyline. And I've noticed while attending these movies live in theater that the Asian audience that they create this for actually appreciates the lengthy storytelling. So as long as you're open to this longer drawn out drama added into the crazy action, you can enjoy these films. But that's part of why I put it in this list, because it's a different storytelling style that not everybody here has the patience for. Next is definitely another C-grade movie called All Superheroes Must Die. It felt like a low budget Superbad mixed with The Dark Knight. It's a lot better than I just made it sound, though. It's about 4 heroes who are trying to catch a villain who's kind of set up this really elaborate plan where he's like taking their powers and has them now trying to save people in a no-win situation. So conceptually, I thought it was cool. There's a much deeper storyline going on throughout the film. It's just low quality everything. But again, some of the fights are cool. The characters are actually interesting. Like I said, there's a deeper, darker story that kind of gets told throughout. And all in all, I was like, dang, these college kids did something good. There are a couple of familiar faces as well. So guys you've probably seen on TV shows, making guest appearances or doing short stints on longer series, which I think is possibly why there's a bit of validity to this story. It's just done in a really low quality, and you can tell, and at times that hurts storytelling. If this was a bigger budget movie, I think it could actually do well in the box office. That's how good I think this movie is. Now, I'm not saying it's an Academy Award-winning movie, no, but this is a solid superhero flick. In a nutshell, this could easily be, at worst, an episode of Batman and the Justice League. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where we're going with this. So I would say if you're a superhero fan, give it a shot. Next is The Final Level, Escape Roncall. This is a movie I literally watched just because it's promoted with Bai Ling. And Bai Ling is often a part of, over the later years of her career, really corny B-list movies that turn out to be hilariously fun. So off the strength of her name alone, I took the time to watch this film. Was I disappointed? No. I already knew what I was getting with a name like The Final Level. I think somewhere else somebody said it's like Jumanji. Look, this is not like Jumanji. Is it people trapped in a video game? Yes. Is it Jumanji quality family fun? No. But is it somehow amusing despite being horribly, horribly bad? Yes. So much fun. They knew the movie was slow at the start, so almost immediately they find a way to give you half-naked women. Bravo. Next, the fight choreography is so bad that they try to explain it by the fact that they're people trying to play a video game, so they try to, like, 16-bit style their fighting. And it's so basic and so corny, but they add beautiful colors that it makes it amusing. The storyline is very simple. You know, you get lost in the game, you got to beat the big boss to get out, right? Can't go wrong there. Couple of various humorous moments, funny deaths. Like I said, really corny action, a fun little twist in the middle of the story. It was a good 89, 90 minutes where I can honestly tell you by the end of it, I was entertained. Even down to the ending of the movie, I was like, oh, well, yeah, I didn't actually expect this little quirk. That was good. So with the few moments that actually feature Bai Ling, she plays a very spazzed out character in this film. I would honestly say give it a shot. It's definitely one of those late night, what do I watch? Let me put this on, have a couple laughs, and enjoy yourself. And last on this list is a movie called The Courier. Honestly, this is a movie that could go up for an award. It stars the guy who plays Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. And it's the story of a man who, it's based on a real life story, but there was a man during the Cold War who helped exchange information from the, Russians to the United States and the UK, and kind of how he kind of gets caught up in the back and forth of the Cold War. Normally, not my kind of film. I see Doctor Strange, I'm going to give it a shot, show some love. He's a good actor. And honestly, I enjoyed this film. But, I'm saying take a chance because it's a slow film. It's based on a true story, so is there a point? No, it's more so dramatizing an interesting tale. Could you Google the movie? Yes, easily. Because it's based off a true story. That's why I normally don't watch true stories. It's just like, well, I'll know the whole movie just by hitting Wikipedia even. Like, it's so basic to look up a true story just because, like, you can read the news articles, or Wikipedia, really. Like, those are the only things you can use Wikipedia for without wondering if people are lying. Because you can easily just go to the second link on a Google search and be like, oh, so this is the truth. But all in all, the acting was very well done. The pacing of the movie was very well done. I didn't realize how much time had passed while watching the movie, and and that's what you want. You want to watch something entertaining. You're like, wow, that was great. Then you're like, holy crap, it's 8:00. Like that's what you want, and that's what this film did, and it did it in a quality that, of course, should grab some sort of Oscar buzz. If not for any of the actors in particular, because I will not go and say that there was performances so outstanding they should be up for awards. But as an overall movie, the director, the the whole cinematography of the film, that is what should get credit on an Oscar level, nomination kind of a thing. So that was this. But like I said, it's not a movie for everyone. It's not the subject matter. It's not the the style or whatever for everyone. That's why it's on this list. But was it a really good movie? Yes. Was it so good that I feel you should watch it even though it's not your thing? I will not go that far. But if you have love for Benedict Cumberbatch for being your Doctor Strange, show some love to this movie. It's good. And now the things that you should definitely watch. So I'm gonna get through this because I feel some of these you already know what's up. So first off is a movie called Nobodies. It stars the actor from Better Known Saul, the lead who was also on Breaking Bad. Essentially, he's a former agent who has gone to civilian life, and after his home gets broken into, it kind of sparks his need to let out all the aggression he's been holding for X amount of years. What happens from there, I will not ruin for you, but let's just say when that fool wakes up, the fight is on. Best part is, the surprise appearances in this movie were just great, right? I mean, I've not seen the Doctor from Back to the Future in anything in how long? And the last one I'm not going to tell you just because you'll know by his voice when he's on the radio who it is, or at least you should. But yeah, it was a really fun, entertaining movie. Go watch it. Next, To Your Last Death is defined. I hate the animation style, but this is a really good story about a woman who gets caught in a game of death that the gods keep having her replay until she's played it so many times that they've wagered she's made the best possible ending possible to her sad, sad story. Right? Some of them are happy if she dies, some are happy if other people die. So what we wait on as the viewer isn't who's gonna die, but how the story actually ends. Like, what is the ending that the gods wanted? It has a really great twist, a really good spin. This is on Amazon Prime, but To Your Last Death, great movie. Then, of course, we had the Justice League Snyder Cut. Watch it, period. Bring back all of DC. Godzilla vs. Kong. This barely made this list. And the only reason I'm going to say that it makes the list is because if you have seen the previous movies, this movie comes together like, okay, they made it make sense. The action is good. We're getting everything. We're getting a built-up storyline. I'm with it. But why I almost took it off, it's a terrible standalone movie. you have to go into this movie literally watching the last 3 movies that preceded it. Otherwise, there's so much missing that all you really get to enjoy is the fights. So I watched this movie, and granted, like, all the other movies were years ago. Even as stuff is happening that I don't remember initially, as they start talking about things, it all comes flooding back, and everything makes sense and it comes together. If I didn't have that prior knowledge, I would have been watching this movie like, who, what, why does this matter? I don't really... Can they just fight? And despite knowing all the stuff that I did, that's kind of how I felt anyway. But the fights were worth it, so I'm with it. It makes the list. Now, the last 2 are series. So first, Good Girls, Season 4, currently airing. Awesome series. I can't talk about how good it is enough. Catch up, watch it. Netflix has some of the old stuff. Get it done. And last but not least, one of my favorite Hulu series has come back for another season. Solar Opposites, the same guys that do Rick and Morty. I love them. This is a great show. It's hilarious. They find a way to pick up where they left off. They find a way to end on a really interesting, fun note. These guys know how to write a comedy. If you haven't seen Solar Opposites, you need to get on it now. You need to get into a Facebook group so they can keep reminding you when the next season's coming out, how much more is coming out, how good what you watched was. Solar Opposites on Hulu. Check it out. Now, before we go, I want to give my shout-outs to our fans of the week. So, Charles, do you have that up? Yes. So, is the first one a boy or a girl? So you have the Dyson Effect, which is 2 people who have a podcast that are fans of the stuff that I put out. So shout out to them and their stuff. So check them out, Dyson Effect. And then next you have someone whose name is Karma Ain't Your Girl. Not the same Karma you may be thinking of if you follow us here at the network, but I'm sure you'll want to follow this one. So shout out to her. But before we go, I want to end on a really high note. I found this past week. I think it is one of the funniest things I've found in my thousands and thousands of posts. Fun fact, they don't have the British pound. So instead of going to the dollar store, the Brits go to Pound Town. One of those great global facts that I think as Americans we all can truly appreciate. And on that note, this has been another episode of Will's Review. I hope my UK fans keep going to Pound Town, and I'll catch you folks later.
Excuse me, I'm next in line. Move. Excuse me, I'm next in line. Watch out. Excuse me, I'm next in line.